Hi everybody, it's Craftin Just Because with Chris Cowan, and today we are playing with the Dragonfly Garden Bundle. I've also paired it with the Memory Cards and More set, and I am using some of the Designer Series paper. So I have created this week some fun projects using that suite of product. And I wanted to create a card box to put the cards in that I created. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, this is a little bit different size of a card box because it is 4.5 by 6.5 is the envelope size. So I'm going to give you the directions and show you what I came up with. This is how I create things. I use just generic paper to get my dimensions and see if it works. So we're going to go ahead and get started. You're going to first want your paper trimmer, and you're first going to want to cut a piece of cardstock. Now I'm using Mossy Meadow, and it is cut at 6 inches by 6 5/8 of an inch. Okay. And on the 6-inch side, we want to score it on each end at 3/4 of an inch. So I'm doing that and that. Okay, now you're done with this piece. We're going to set that aside. You're going to come in with your piece that now is 6 by 9 1/4, and you're going to do the same thing on the 6-inch side. You're going to score it at 3/4 of an inch. And then on the 9 1/4 inch side, you want to score it at 3/4 of an inch, at 1.5 inches, at 8 1/8 of an inch, and at 8 3/4. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to bring in our bone folder, and we are going to burnish those score lines. What this essentially does is it breaks down the fibers in the cardstock, and it makes it with a nice crisp clean edge. Okay. And that's really important when you're making any sort of box. Okay, so now what I want to do is on the bottom edge, I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to cut this tab just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. So I'm cutting up to the score line, cutting up to the score line, and then cutting this little rectangle off down at the bottom. Okay. Then at the top, what we're going to do is I am going to go from corner to corner. So I'm just going to go like this. Do the same thing on this side. Corner to corner. And then I'm going to cut up each of these score lines, just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to cut diagonally the opposite way to the corner point. So you're left with this funky little triangle down at the bottom, and then a square at the bottom. Now on the square part, down here at the bottom, I'm going to bring in my trio tag, or my trio punch here, and I'm folding in the sides, and I'm going to put this in and round those corners. Okay, now before we get rid of this, I also have one of my Memories and More cards that's the 3x4 size. And I'm going to do this decorative pattern on each of the corners. One more. Okay, so now we're done with our corner rounder. Now I'm going to come in with my front piece, and I've cut some designer series paper, and because my envelope is a little larger, I needed to do some something different. As you could see, it's a little bit smaller at the top and the bottom. So I've cut one of my designer pieces of paper 4 1/4 by 6, and then I cut a 1-inch strip by 4 1/4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the opposite edge because I couldn't get, excuse me, my design to line up. And I'm just going to glue the opposite pattern on the side or on the top. And I'm just leaving a tiny little border around it. Okay. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add my large piece of designer series paper. And I don't think you're even going to notice this little piece up here at the top. And I'm going to just layer that where it's nice and even as well. So see how you kind of have that little strip? Nobody's even going to notice. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for just a moment. And now I'm going to work on my flap piece. And I cut 2 pieces that were a 1/2 inch by 4 1/4 inches. And we're just going to put it on those top 2 pieces. I'm going to make sure that's even. And add that. Okay. And then I'm going to do something really quick here. We are going to use dimensionals to add on our little card here. Okay. I'm just going to layer this right on down like this. Okay. Now I'm going to take my top and bottom piece. Okay. I'm going to glue up these little tabs up onto the piece right there to form the box. Okay. And then I'm also going to glue these triangles together. Just like that. And the same thing on this side. Okay. Bend that back a little bit. Okay, so now what I need to do is I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive onto my little tab there. And then I'm going to add adhesive onto my flaps on the back side. So just like this. And then we're going to carefully put our box together. Just like that. And don't worry, I'm going to come in with a ruler once I make sure it's all lined up. And I'm going to run my ruler down along the sides and that bottom piece just to make sure they're glued nice and strong together. Okay, and then you have your little flap at the top. Okay, so let me show you how this will go together now. So you take your Memories and More cards, and it looks like I have 5. So I have 5 cards, 5 envelopes. Okay, and then these should slide right on down into the pocket. I don't want to hit that bottom. It's hitting the bottom tab there. So I think what I'm going to do is let's do this. We'll put our cards in first. Just like that. And then I'll put my envelopes in. It is definitely hitting something down there. There we go. Just needed a little coaxing. And then I'm going to add just one more thing. So there it's sealed shut. And then I went ahead and punched some dragonflies using my punch. I didn't even stamp it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add one dragonfly right here, pointed up. Just like that. And then since I added Wink Stella on my other ones, I would like to go ahead and do that as well on here. And there you have it, my friends. A little card box to fit your Memories and More cards that you made using that bundle of product. So I appreciate you guys joining me today. If you have any questions, please let me know. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.